Hello and good morning, everybody. Want to welcome you guys out to what is going to be the last webinar of 2020. So, welcome. I am Jake. I will be moderating this webinar, and we have a very special guest for you today, Jeremiah Farmer, the man of the hour. He's going to go over some recapping of 2020 and what we've been able to do. Before we move on to that, want to just do a few house cleaning items. If you guys are in full screen mode and want to get out of that, go ahead and go up to the view option and minimize that full screen so that you can move about if you need to. But also want to point you guys to the Q&A and the chat windows there. Those buttons, just click on those, get those ready. Would love to hear any chatting amongst yourselves or use that Q&A box for any questions that you would like us to answer. We'd love any kind of questions that you got. And also, lastly, this webinar is being recorded. So if you guys miss some of it, or for those listening into the future, it is going to be on our website later today. So without any further ado, I want to turn this right over to Jer.
Well, thank you, Jake. All right. Yeah, 2020, it's that time of year, right? For all of these sorts of wrap up sort of lists and what a year to do them for. So I decided to find one of my favorite quotes from a Daffy Duck cartoon. If I never see you again, it'll be too soon. That's me, and well, let's get going. What are we going to be talking about today? I thought it'd be nice to give you a little bit of a tour of our development process. And I will, of course, be recapping our accomplishments of the year. The more notable ones, I will be diving into CAD to show you. And I will also be able to give you just a little bit of a sneak peek at some of the things pending for next year. So that'll be kind of cool, I hope. So let's go with first, I want to kind of pull back the veneer of the development process. It's done by these computer geeks in a dark room. What happens? So this is the one webinar a year I get to kind of pull back the curtain and show you what it is. And you know what it is? It's boring. It's completely boring. Our development process is mostly controlled via monthly development meetings, and all of that is primarily triaging this freed camp is what we use to track kind of everything. And of course, this year, these were mostly done via Zoom. This was the one just from this week. And we just have lists upon lists upon lists in freed camp. And this is the basic kind of timeline that we try to walk things through. So first, things start as a dev idea, whether we get the idea or a user tells us their idea or some combination of the two. And so there's just all these dev ideas organized about. So via these monthly meetings, we meet and we discuss them and we decide which ones should kick up to the official wish list. And then at the wish list. Now someone has to be assigned to it and get it mocked up and ready for development. Then at a subsequent meeting, then we're going to decide what is its priority, get it scheduled. It is then ideally coded and coded successfully. It's tested, it's documented, prepped for that Friday's release. And through that whole process, we're also discussing which may or may not be applicable for a power tip video. And so that's basically the process. So, it takes a team. This is pretty much everybody who has their fingers in development. A far, far cry, far. Wow, how far we've come from when it was just me and my dad, right? But we got like Crystal and Shelby who primarily run that monthly development meeting and manage Freed Camp. Make sure that people are checking in with their deadlines and doing things. Megan also helps out with the development meeting, but she's primarily watching that errors inbox. So as people get errors, she forwards those over to me to get addressed. Similarly, JR in client success, he forwards over client ideas, and then also lets them know when their idea got done. The usage techs here, we got Paul, Jake, and Amanda. They are in charge of, like taking ownership of those items through the wish list process, getting it mocked up. Then when it's ready for testing, they'll test it and then shoot any screenshots that need to be shot, getting the videos and shooting the power tip video. So a lot of responsibility on them. Our development team, I'm mainly in AutoCAD these days. That's because Bennett is in charge of the installer, Kurt's in charge of the SketchUp and Rhino and Revit plugins, and Forrest is in charge of the website and web backend development. So we got quite a crew there. Over on the content side, Molly at the end, she is in charge of the plant database, and Alex and James here are in charge of all the other content, the hatches, the blocks, the 3D symbols, and also touching bases with our additional contract talent when we need to ramp up on those fronts. The rest of the tech support team, you got Brian and Yara down there. They help out with testing. We'll shout out something into Slack, have some new feature that we need, stress tested, and so everybody will dive in and see what they can do. Then things get pushed over to Jason to be documented, and then that gets notified over to Sean to put into the newsletter. And of course, Bella is there through the whole process. So, what did this team of geniuses accomplish over a year? A year in captivity, a year in house arrest. Let's see. It actually brought a lot of opportunities. One of the first opportunities was a non-accomplishment, literally zero trade shows. So that was, obviously a mixed blessing because it meant there were no arbitrary deadlines. We always tend to say, hey, let's get this done by this trade show. And once that pressure is gone, we can just simply move the development at an appropriate pace. Which is really nice, but then of course there is a downside to that as well, of course, which is a lot of items got pushed and pushed, and now they are queued up ahead of 2021 notional trade shows. Um, but the other thing, the main thing though, is without having the artificial deadline, contrasting with 2019, where the whole development queue for 2019 was dominated by this lighting designer. Um, addition to our product ahead of the IA new product contest, which we won. There's me accepting the trophy. But the downside of that was, the development got very rushed at times. There was things purposely skipped over, and bugs were created because of that artificial push to meet a deadline. And so taking that away was, relaxing to say at the least. Things we did accomplish though. We pushed out 60 newsletters. There's still 4 more pending this year. If you're not getting the newsletters, please, please, please go to the website and sign up for them. These are our primary method of communicating with you. If you've ever found yourself saying, gee, I never knew about blah, blah, blah feature, well, that's kind of on you because I guarantee you it was mentioned in a newsletter. That's what they're there for. It's our primary method of communicating anything with you. And the main thing those mention is those power tip videos. 47 of them in the can on the website, 2 minutes each. If you don't have 2 minutes of your day to spare, or 2 minutes of your week, I'm sorry, 2 minutes of your week to just simply watch each power tip video, it's all it takes to be abreast of any of these new little things. Just here's one random one. Look at that power tip on generic block keyboard commands. Is there a possibility that watching that 2 minute power tip might save you 2 minutes in the future? So actually, it's almost guaranteed it's going to save you 2 minutes. They're all professionally done with music, well edited. I'm very, very proud of the team on these. And so just cannot recommend enough. Everything about this was so that all you need to do is be sure you watch each power tip video each week. It'll only be 2 minutes of your life, and you will be abreast of all of the latest developments that we are doing. So please be sure to watch those each week. You're, of course, watching this webinar. This is our 48th webinar of the year. Yeah, there we are right there recording this. In real, that's like in Spaceballs. We're right, we're now. But yeah, that's a lot of training resources that is there on the website and just continuing to build. And each of these webinars, I hope you do appreciate, take a lot of effort to put together. So again, very proud of the teams doing that. Other things we've done, we have a rough estimate of plants. We figured it was about 5,000 plants were added to the database this year. And this is a little screenshot here of Molly's interface. So this is basically what she works with, going through primarily the plants that users add. So when you add a plant to the database, it just zips over the internet and pops into this little console for her. And so she will correct the spelling if necessary, research the plant, add any additional characteristics, and then approve it for everyone. So it's actually a phenomenally efficient way to manage something like a plant database. Because not only is offloading the typing of the name, but more it's so responsive. An actual user actually needs to use that plant, as opposed to Molly guessing that, oh, I guess we need some more Western European natives. Whereas lucky us, obviously we got some user in France who's adding in a bunch of plants that we don't have. So we're, I can see in this day they were going crazy, and now our plant database is that much better suited for France, which is great, right? The rest of the content team cranking away. One of their accomplishments was they added about 800 new blocks to the system. This was one of those sections was motorcycles. I basically instructed them to just kind of take a look at the entire built universe, and I want everything covered. And so, one of those sections was motorcycles. And so they just said, okay, let's just get it so that there's every imaginable motorcycle and it's done, right? Don't need to ever revisit that, except maybe, I suppose, they'll probably be adding some of the new electric motorcycles in the near future. On the straight development side, I pushed out 62 updates, and there's still 3 more pending this year. That came to almost 6,000 lines of code, which I calculate to be about 33 lines of code a day. And so, in case you are wondering, well, what the heck does through 30 lines of code look like in a day? Here's a great example. This is one of the ones I want to actually show you. But this was just simply putting in a M leader with a frame around it. This was the chunk of code that was done for that. And as I look at this, I can see this is basically a wrapper for literally just firing the M leader command. So it's kind of prepping, we fire the M leader command, and then afterwards we apply a color to that framed M leader. And I know you might be going, well, heck, that took a whole day to do. Well, to figure out how to do it, to code it, to test it, to add the comments, and among, of course, meetings and Slack calls and emails and everything. That's about the average amount of code that's done and tested and completed and to the appropriate quality level and move on. I like to stay under about 50 lines of code a day average. That's uh, too hectic. That's when there's just too many bugs and things. I like to be above 30. So, I look at that and I see, oh yeah, I guess I was a little low. I guess I would have preferred to be maybe a little closer to 39 lines of code a day average over the year, but is what it is, right? Of those updates, it brings up the little dialogue. It says what was in there. So I went through and I grabbed all of the update notes from the year and organize them. Of course, not going to read you all of this, but this is just the webinar to assemble it all to show you. So this is a grand total of, everything we accomplished this year. And this also shows, you can see where Jason has added hyperlinks to, new or revised documentation. That's then where he comes in and updates the documentation. Those hyperlinks also happen to correlate pretty well with the more notable features that I'm going to be showing you. But a lot of general items. Moving on to details, there was a big push for details early in the year. uh, we decided to look over all of the detail related wish list items. And I said, let's just, scour all of your ideas and wish lists. Let's get everything imaginable for details done this year. And we really did. So I'll show you a few of those things. Ref notes, a few things there, but really dominated by lighting. These lighting items here, like I mentioned, essentially kind of cleaning up the too rushed development of lighting from 2019. Some of these things, jump out to me, like the adding the IEC wiring. That was a very easy item for us to just simply skip in 2019. So it only supported AWG wiring. But obviously, we need to support metric wire gauges. None of us had ever worked with that. I've only, soldered AWG wiring, since a kid. I have no idea what metric wire gauges internationally are available, if they're consistent across countries. You know what I mean? And so that is a great example of just one little bullet point item, but that was multiple meetings, multiple researching and deciding. For instance, one of the decisions we had to make was whether or not to support the British wire gauges or just go with IEC, and then getting those in and making that work. So, that was actually a pretty substantial item, all summed up by a single tiny little bullet point. In planting, continue to improve on planting, but definitely showing its 25 years of maturity, that there's, is really kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel almost in terms of what to add to planting. As opposed to on the irrigation side, it's just complexity, and the nature of it means we just continue to have to add more and more and more to it, and continue to improve on it. And then lastly, we've rounded out 174 hot fixes. I'm sure there'll be a couple more left too for the end by the end of the year. These, like I mentioned, they just kind of jump to the front of the line on any given day. When someone gets any sort of error, or even our team encounter an error, I just drop what I'm doing and I just get it done. It is quicker that way. And so, particularly for, if a user encounters an error, we'll just fix the bug, recompile, send them that hot fix directly, and get that queued for that Friday's release. Also, a lot of these are just minor issues. I mean, there's that semantical argument of what is technically a bug, and so, I just settled in on hot fix. I mean, so it's just a little thing that was done. A lot of these are bugs, but a lot of them are also just minor little things that makes it easier to sort out for purposes like this webinar. So those were all those just little minor things that got done during the year. Of all of those that I showed you, I know this is really thrilling. Wow, Jer, lots of bullet points. But these are all the things I'm going to dive into CAD now and actually show you. We'll be showing you these, but before I do, just want to give a shout out to some of these new things coming next year. So things to look forward to. We're working on a color picker for site amenities. We have a massive plant database expansion coming. Both the grading manager and schematic irrigation are going to be moving to a docked palette with a lot of new capability. We have our Revit plugin that'll be released, and and more. So that'll be pretty exciting. So like I said, now I want to dive into CAD and show you, click, click, these things. But before we do that, I just thought this is a perfect time to stop and check in with Jake and see if there's any questions we need to resolve.
No questions at the moment. Reminder to everybody to get these things kind of pre-set up so that we have time to answer them as we go through stuff. Did have just a little comment from Jeff that he's hoping for some self-driving motorbikes. Slight joke, but I told him soon enough we'll get those in there, of course.
You
Maybe some
bet.
hovercrafts, but yeah. So keep on going,
Yeah, weren't we all promised a flying car by the year 2020?
basically.
Okay, so we go through these things. Like I said, I got about 25 things I want to show you. Uh, Plenty of time to do that, but of course, this might feel a teeny bit rushed at times. But chime in with a question. I can always circle back and everything. I'll just kind of go through the list, starting here in the project screen. We added this whole organization tab. So pretty nice. You can organize your projects a lot easier to get to the project that you want and have them all nicely. Whoops, as I double click accidentally, there's something there. Let me dive back in and get my correct project. There we go. So that's pretty nice, and also has a report to print out your list of projects. That was new. So that was a pretty cool new thing added. Um, Nothing in here, so we'll move on. Another cool thing that was added is, I've got this XREF. Well, I have a UCS defined in the XREF, but if I check my UCS manager, I don't have the UCS here in this drawing. So we added to our capability, I can just click Restore UCS, and look at that. It pulled, there's these UCSs available in the XREF that I can just say, oh yeah, I wanted that lower building one. Boom, pulled in. So now if I go to my UCS man, I've got that here. So that's pretty slick, right? Let's see. Then we did something for work areas. Oh, that was that framed M leader. So if I go to do a new work area, we'll just call this the lower building. Whoops, there. And, just drop that in, boop, for these guys. Good enough, right? But you'll see it's got this, whoa, man, I am just not good at wrangling CAD today. I'm so sorry. There we go. So you can see we've got this framed M leader pointing to the work area. So it just makes it a little easier. It used to be separate text entity, so it could kind of get lost. This way it can't really get lost. So that was, like I said, that was that 1 day job, that 30 lines of code to be able to do this framed M text. So moving on to site. We improved a few things here. If I go into, say, I'll go into, say, these plan graphics, and I'll go check out those motorcycles I was talking about. So like I said, just kind of they did kind of every imaginable motorcycle, but the more than that, because the one thing we added was, see if I go in here to, gotta really zoom in on this guy, huh? Go into place this guy. But we added these additional keyboard commands for generic blocks. Which is pretty slick. So one of them is I can change the view of this. So I want to get this guy pointed that way, right? I want to change the view, and whoa, he's rotated. Let's try that again. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Change my view, and I can cycle through the different views of that same motorcycle, which is pretty cool, right? And I can also even place this, and there's another one was F to flip it. Just boom, going that way. It's pretty slick. So that was pretty fun working on that, and of course that dictates the content team. They are always making sure that every block has all those different views and is colorized, so very complete in terms of the quality level of all the content that they're adding. Um, let's see. Here's another one. We did, moving on to RefNotes. Let me move over to RefNotes. So RefNotes, the manager is now docked only. I don't know if you even noticed, it used to have an undock button. We are just moving everything to being docked palettes. That's going to match the best with Revit and Rhino, not necessarily with SketchUp, um, but anyway, but this just is a better direction to go rather than the more separate dialog box. So at some point in the future, we will be removing that undock capability for planting and irrigation, even though every time I say that, Jake screams, no. So we did that. Looking into the RefNote preferences, if you notice this, pull this over. We added these guys right here. So to have the default schedule for my ref note. So this is all saved with the preference set now, as well as that default callout style. So if you have a certain look that you want to always be the default, you can just set that here. So that was a fun one we did. Oh, diving back into ref notes here, we did a quick little thing with importing. I'm going to import, I have over in this project over here, I have this ramp ref note. And if I bring him in, he automatically moved the detail to the project detail folder for this project. So as you can imagine that, I mean, what a tiny little item, right? I mean, it doesn't, you're like, okay, wow, it looks cool. But, I hope you do realize that just saved a lot of people a lot of time for how they were working. And so people had chimed in on the forum saying how much that would really help them. And we were able to get to that this year. So that was it for ref notes. Moving on to details. Here in detail preferences, we added a pretty big item here, the list of standard details. The old style, the way we had it before, was what we now just call custom offline. It's just a XML file that is on your LandFX installation, and that's it. We don't ever update it over time. It's just there and it's yours. These new ones are managed by us, and so those updates happen with the normal updates that you run. And so those are matching the CSI master format as possible. But of course, we have to, we've dived down lower than that, of course, as you know. And so, but the main thing is that it is, a cloud connected. You can still override it, and it just stores those overrides, which is really slick. So, basically, we would recommend you switch to one of these as opposed to that offline one, because this is basically managed by us. So as master format, their new version is, I believe, scheduled to come out in the spring. I think. I think it's pretty soon. We're gonna just incorporate that in, and it'll just change automatically for you. So that's why that's a pretty cool thing. And obviously, another great example of a huge, 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 huge item. All the data entry, all the engineering. And that was just one little minor little thing that we added. Going into the Detail Explorer, we really improved on search. We added the capability to search even detailed titles, which is pretty neat. And so, I can just search for, say, concrete, and it'll just scour the whole list. And then I can kind of drill down, be like, wait, what had the word concrete in it? Oh, I see. These guys had the word concrete in them, of course. So that's pretty handy, right? And then can just, blank that out and roll back. And then it still snaps to that same category. So that was pretty fun getting that figured out how to do. I'd love to go into the details of exactly how that did it, because it was there's some pretty cool code for how that worked, but I know most of you be like, woo, way over my head, but all right, whatever. So that was pretty cool to do. Up in here, I think I have some details that you may have noticed. These little buttons up here. What the heck are these buttons getting in my way? Well, that's so that you can add a photo. And I already added photos to these. And so it's pretty neat is, in fact, it stays on that photo position. So it's pretty slick to roll through these and to see, oh yeah, that was that seat wall in the rear. Oh, that's pretty cool. And then I can click back to the detail view and go back through the details. So really slick, definitely. If that works out for you to add photos to your details, that is there for you. Moving on, we added a new thing, which really this is going to be more of a 2021 thing, because we didn't we don't have a button for it yet. But I'm gonna, let's see, maybe I'll just get rid of these guys, and let's just say I am, drawing a section view of what this road is going to look like. I don't want to go into this too much in detail. Like I said, I only have about a minute for each item. But this command is detail viewport. I'm gonna type detail viewport, and I'll just call this road section. Okay. And so it immediately, one of the things notice, because it's a detail viewport, my units are locked because I'm in model space with it. I know I want this to be kind of like a wide, section. Take a guess at scale here and see. It's looking pretty good, but I can still, again, use these great keyboard commands. I'm going to jump up and scale a little bit, probably more like that, right? And this is whatever. Like I said, we'll just pretend, right? I didn't want to really spend forever mocking up this one little quick thing. But the main thing is that I'm here in this drawing and I was able to just get this viewport together. Well, what did that do? Well, if I go over to my detail tab here, um, there's my detail view right there. So it automatically got added and I can preview it even. So it's got that preview. I can even add the photo because it's all linked in with the photo as well. But I can immediately place that as a detail. So, it's 4 wide, so he'll fit down here pretty nice. And boom. And look, it is a detail, but yet it's just a view. So I forget what edit detail does. Let's take a look and see. If I edit the detail, yeah, see, edit detail did nothing. I was trying to see if edit detail should maybe just zoom in on it or something like that. But for all other purposes, it is a detail. Including, and here's, I'm actually diving into something I didn't fully test this week. So let's see if this will still work. But I want to show you detail renumber. This was the other thing we added. So you can see I've got 1, 2, now 3, and then 4, 5, and then it jumps to 9, 10. Well, that's no fun. Well, we added a renumber button. And so I can just simply click that and it'll confirm, do you want to renumber them? And I say yes. And it'll chug away and you'll see it kept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but these are now 6 and 7. And you can see they're updated here in the manager as well. So that was another cool thing we added. Naked details were changed. So that's a pretty fun one. I can just kind of pick really any one of these. I guess it really doesn't matter. I'll just grab this one particular detail. And what I want to do is put in a detail callout. And again, it won't really matter which one, I suppose, but I'm just say, this was the seat wall rear. So let's just say, maybe I'm saying that it's, I don't want to, well, actually, that won't even really matter. But I just want to drop him in. Here's my little detail callout thing, and I want to do naked. So if I put in naked, you can see he's just text and he's just blank because he's still in the detail. But I can even edit this text, so I can see, like, you know, um, check out the other, the seat wall rear. Uh, whatever, however I want to, and I can assemble multiple, of course, in one piece of M text. I can, change the font of this. I can copy it because it's a field is what's so cool about that. So this was really fun to get figured out. So if I save changes to this detail, and then I can just go right up here and click on or update details, and he'll update, boom. And you can see that field just got filled out perfectly. So that is, I'm just very proud of that one. That one too had some pretty cool wizardry in getting that figured out. A couple of things we bumped against an AutoCAD bug that we got them to recognize is a bug, and anyway, just so all the typical craziness of this sort of development. Um, that was it for details. Okay, so moving on. Let's move back and take a look at some planting things. This was a quick item that was mentioned to us. Someone said they got a survey and the person, the lunatic, used circles for all the existing trees. And, they had hundreds and hundreds of them. And they wanted us to write, they found a Lisp to convert a circle to a block, and we're like, yeah, yeah, it didn't even really need the Lisp so much, just wrote it, because we actually kind of did it differently than that Lisp anyway. But for instance, what I can do is let me just go into my generic and let's just say that, you know, let's pick a good one. Oh, because while I'm in here, I can also show you, we restyled this dialog box slightly. And actually, I'll show you this a little more from the plant manager, just to show you something pretty cool. But I don't know, here's a good existing one. I don't know, I like that one, right? So I just want to place one of these to get my source. So I can go to our match plant properties. I can click my source and I can click a circle and it'll say apply to all instances of this layer, which is pretty slick. And maybe I want a different one for the alders over here. I'll just keep these temporary source ones over here. So, again, I can just go boom, boom, click on that circle. Maybe I say no because I actually still want to go ahead and click them individually or window. Oh, reprocess that one. That was interesting. I'm just gonna do that so that you didn't see it. Maybe Jake will write that down. But see, it kept the size of those circles was the neat little thing there. So again, just a neat little thing. I mean, always this constant little improvement. Let's see here. I need to pull up my plant manager to show a few things now. So I'm gonna need a ground cover. So let's just go ahead and grab some turf because I wanted to show the new stipple. I don't know if you have seen this. Stipple is pretty popular, but let's go ahead and pick stipple. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Sounds good. And let me see. Let me just kind of I didn't draw a polyline. I'm sorry. So let's just draw a kind of a unusually shaped polyline. Yes, we can even do an arc in there, you know, back to line mode. Something that's definitely going to have some weirdness to it. Right? That's good enough. So anyway, the way we change stipple, I go ahead and click on this guy. Only one click and done, just like that. And you can see, it managed, even though this area got compressed tight, it still kept offsetting and doing that hatching. And in fact, we no longer need that additional non-plot layer. I don't know if you ever noticed that. It created an additional non-plot layer. So that too was a lot of just, how can we possibly accomplish that? So that was fun to do. Over in shrub areas, I'll need a shrub area, you know, sure, that's a good one. And if I go and edit my shrub area, don't know if you noticed this, we added a bunch of new crazy line types. And also, the process of that, getting figured out how to do pretty much any sort of line type. So as you have ideas for additional shrub area line types you'd like, please let us know. We got 4 more we could easily add, and I can also add a scroll bar here if we really needed to. So that was pretty fun to do. I wanted to show something very quick here. I'm going to need a tree. And fine, that's good. I always try to add one of my favorites, but whatever, right? The thing we did here, a little more minor, this dialog box, we restyled slightly. You probably can't even tell. You probably can't even notice what is different between this and the way it used to be. But the main thing we did is we matched up all of these. So the idea being that is you're adding a color symbol and then a SketchUp symbol, or a 2D symbol, that all these dialog boxes look the same. And they're 3 totally different systems. And so it took a lot of coordination, and obviously, this one's showing, individual JPEGs, whereas this one's showing, renders of a SketchUp file versus AutoCAD 2D slides. And, getting the colors and the fonts consistent was through several of those monthly meetings to get all that together. And then one last thing with planting over in concept planting. So here, if we have a ground cover, we'll just say like this is a seed mix. And I'll just go with something simple. And so we will, well, I will actually I'll sign in mine because just that'll save me something. But let's also get a Let's get another turf to go with that. You know, sure. Let's just say it's got this. Um, let's just say we've got this guy um, and this guy and this guy, just to get them all in there. Because if this was a seed mix, what I can do, again, a fairly minor thing, but my percentage here can now have a decimal point of precision. I know you're like, well, that's pretty minor. Well, I got to show it. So if that was 35.2%, I can do that now. It used to only be to the whole percent. And so I can, try to round that out. And, um, and look, it even kind of shows you what your total is. Um, hey, I said I wanted 25.2. There we go. And so on. So that was a little minor thing. Again, that was another a user request got added. I can now jump over to irrigation to show some irrigation things. First thing here, the circuiting zone, same thing. We did that framed M leader. Um, we also then here in locate valve, added a few things here in locate valve. These headers are clickable. Sorting, that's kind of cool, right? A little easier to find that particular, all your high GPM valves. We also added the water source. So there's the meter right there. So I can just jump right to the meter. So that was pretty fun. So that is, also, it's right here. So there in the ribbon. Hope you're using locate valve. Color valves, we completely redid. You don't even notice. But for colorized zones, it now asks you to select a valve or right click for all. If I select a valve, gives me a color picker. And so this is actually pretty cool. It saves that color choice with the valve is what's really neat. So as I, for instance, go ahead and, say, well, I'll just kind of, I want to be totally in charge rather than it going through and picking color choices. But it saves that. So even if I turn that off with highlight and I come back to color zones and click on this guy, it snaps back to his saved color. So I hope you liked that feature. That one too, I had fun with. We added, let's see, multiple drip emitter areas. That's not really too cool to see, big deal. But we did add a huge thing here. I hope you saw this and I hope you like it. But for rotaries, when I go and I pick my rotary, I'm feeling Rainbird today. And our symbol selection has changed. Well, actually, it used to not even prompt for symbol selection. We have all of these symbol families ready to go, 8 different symbol families, and it's consistent across all manufacturers' rotaries, giving that nice
Looks like you
consistent
even
look.
have the older slides
Oh my gosh, you're
over
right.
there.
Again, sorry,
That's
sorry.
part of testing, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So we've dialed it in to even be better than this.
Yeah, so look away, people. Sorry, Jake. That was your
That's all
project that
right.
you've
That's all
been
right. Not like I
cranking on for
spent
so many
forever
months.
on. Yeah.
Forever. But hey, on that note, that's the end of my list. So I'm hoping people might have some questions about things.
They have been amazed with the circle features and the stipple stuff. So, guys, other than just saying that's cool, I want to see what you guys have questions with. We do have one question specifically to that M liter uh, box
Hmm.
option. And can you actually set a landing to that box leader, which is not a bad idea as far as
Not a bad idea. I guess, because I mean, it's not really showing up anywhere. I mean,
yeah, it's
that's,
non-plot. So
and I don't think I can right click and uh, change the landing.
you might be able
Um,
to in properties. Go to properties. There should
yeah.
be a landing tab
Should be
right there. Landing
landing
distance
distance.
0.
So I guess I could. So if I wanted to say,
Point 0.25 or or one
Let's see.
or
Well, yeah, I'm
oh, you're in
metric laws,
metric.
so let's just see what 5 did. Oh, there we go. So you can look at that.
There
If
you
you want a
go.
landing, there you go.
So
Well, that
select
was
similar to all of
pretty.
them and change it
Yeah,
and adjust as
and
needed.
there you go. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Wow, we look at that. We learned something today.
Cool. Jeff is wondering if we can show view detail again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That one was glossed over, but caught some attention.
yeah. I wanted wanted to remind you a few things. I mean, multiple things. There's this preview button here that I can just click, and that um, will pulls up the preview of any detail, and that just I can hide this even over there to get out of the way. So that's pretty slick to go through all of these. Um, but that was specifically my road section is what he wanted to see. So maybe what I can do is perhaps do something a little more appropriately, but let's maybe drop something around this building here. That might be a little more accurate. We don't have the button for it yet. It is going to appear. So keep your eyes peeled. It's most certainly going to appear right here between templates. Right underneath template will then be insert a detail view. But that command, which is currently there, you're welcome to use this actually, is detail viewport right there, detail viewport. And it just asks you for the title. So we'll just say this is building blow up, right? Um, and then it just gives us our typical thing as if it was a detail template. I could just pick a scale if I knew the scale I wanted and draw the window and it'll figure the rest out. But I want to say, this is maybe a pretty good blow up. And I just want to walk through the scales because I want to make sure it's a decent scale. 1 to 75, yeah, 1 to 100, let's just say that's a good one. And so I dropped that in. And so that did multiple things. It dropped this frame in, of course. I'm welcome to move this frame, actually, if I need to. So, and it's a block, which makes it easier to move. So if I did need to adjust it slightly where it is, you're welcome to do that. The tricky part we haven't figured out yet is how to reshoot the slide nicely. So if I go ahead and oh, if I refresh, there we are. There's my view. So that's another thing. It should have refreshed automatically. So you can see it's not fully done, but it's mostly there. But you see, it did shoot it shot a image, which of course, could be off. You might want to re-image this. So that's yet another thing we want to fix with it. But basically that's it, right? I mean, I can continue and, I can draw in here and I can, do whatever I need to do. And it's effectively a detail. I can call it out, so I can place a call out and it will be boop. It will be right here, building blow up. It's available to call out even. Um, you know, um, that's probably a pretty good one. Yeah, might be a little silly to point to itself, but I can, obviously have that on any other sheets, blah, 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 and then I can place it and I'll just make some room for myself because that was a big guy. And I can place that as a detail here and it's effectively a detail. So, a lot of people are like, oh, that's what I always wanted with details. But of course, we all know it is, obviously the pinnacle is to have your details be actual details. Each of these is an individual DWG that's been saved on your server. It's going to be a lot easier to copy them around from project to project and make variations of them and stuff like that. But obviously, this detail viewport has a strong usage case. I just hope people aren't going to use it for all of their details. But it definitely serves a purpose.
So with a follow up on that, then the block that you've placed into model space, then is that going to show up when printing?
Um, it is going to be the same. Yeah. So yeah, this would. So you would want to, probably put this and that's, it looks like it just went on the current layer. So you can see this isn't fully done, but this should go on a different layer that you could then easily freeze in a viewport if you need to.
If you
Um,
delete it now, is it going to delete it from the actual detail manager then, from being, if it's already placed as such?
no, yeah, it'll mess things up. I mean,
Okay.
this is what it, this is how it knows where that's what this detail is tied to.
Right. It's where it's looking what its viewport is and
Yeah, if you
listing
were
it
to,
out that way.
yeah, if you look at it, you'll see it's got this number
Uh-huh.
is coded in with the block, and so that's how it finds it. So yeah, obviously, I mean, it's so the initial, I would, I would say that that's basically the engineering work is kind of done. Now it's that second round where, yeah, where Jake and Amanda will basically stress test this and select users. Now I'm sure there's too many users now who are frantically typing detail viewport to try it out, who give us some feedback, and then we get that rounded up. But yeah, in very soon, January is when we're going to be working on the ribbon, and we will be adding that button right here in the ribbon as soon as, about February, March. But you're welcome to type detail viewport and let us know any issues you have with that. Any
Well,
other questions?
that's all of them so far, guys. I know you've thoroughly enjoyed what Jared has shown us, but if there's anything else, I know the one thing that we can't really show off that I just want to stress too is as a part of this whole process is hitting home on the documentation that we've been able to provide and clean up. Specifically, one that I don't even think Jer has seen the final of is our LT scale.
Mm.
And I'm just going to shout out to Jason, our documentation writer, on helping put that one together because there is so much confusion out there about what the right processes are and stuff like that that we've revamped some of our documentation and made it so much cleaner and so much easier to follow through and understand what these tools are doing. So not
Wow, this
to
is good. Yeah, I've not seen this. Yeah, because this is
yeah
definitely redone and exactly.
just
Look at that.
understanding what it's going to do, how you should be setting up your stuff, and what the results are going to be. Just trying to make it as easy for you guys as possible. So it's not just features that we've, um, done, but it's appreciating the other resources that we give you guys, day in and day out. So
It is. It takes a team, people, and so that's why, like I said, I mean, I feel like I am the smallest cog among these things because it's just to get the tiniest little thing done takes 7, 8, 9 people, and my work feels like the least of it because I went in there, slung a few lines of code over 30 minutes, and there's, Jason spends far more time than that documenting the feature. So really shout out to the whole team. And they will happily accept any Christmas presents you want to send to the office to thank them.
I think we
Just
got to
a
give out
hint.
home addresses because
Oh, true. Yeah.
we're not working in the office. So
Yes. So with that, yeah. So you know, evil words to you, 2020, right? Well, let's make 2021 pretty amazing, as amazing as we can. And I guess we'll just call it. And hey, everyone, have a great weekend, a safe weekend, a fantastic holidays, and see ya next year. How's that sound? So
and keep those
last,
ideas coming.
yeah, definitely keep the ideas coming. Thank you guys so much. Have a
Have a
good
good
one.
day.
Bye.